Good morning and welcome to Weekends with Whitney. Coming up in today's show, we hit the movie set of Girls Trip. The Hollywood stars ziplining across Bourbon Street. How they made it all fly, put it together, and pulled it off. Then, meet the kids and the collaborators behind the largest kids orchestra in the country. Then Dr. Nick explores our core beliefs. They're a lot more complicated than we might realize. However, we still can change them. But first, we go behind the scenes on the set of the movie Girls Trip. See what happens when Hollywood stars, a $25 million movie budget, and a first ever zip line across Bourbon Street collide.
2, 1, go!
They're zipping around Bourbon Street like never before. That's Queen Latifah ziplining between Bourbon Street bars in the making of the movie Girl Trip. For bystanders, it caused all to wonder, what in the world is going on here? So I sought out the stunt coordinator who created all this excitement and found him in, of all places, Baton Rouge. How'd you all get permission to do that?
That was a big production through Universal Management, of course.
It took Lex and his team of stunt coordinators months of planning and preparation to execute this first ever zip line across Bourbon Street. It's much more than a standard zip line.
We have the capability of back and forth, up and down, what we call elevator lines, and also motivator lines. You know, so it's all in the rigging aspect of it, and also special effects. You know, again, it's a combination of both.
The line stretched across Bourbon to Orleans Street. Tropical Isle was the landing zone. Did you have to rent out the whole bar for the whole night?
Had to rent out the whole block.
No way.
Yeah, almost entire 2 blocks entire on Bourbon Street.
So what did that cost?
You know what? That is way out of my department.
He does know the cost of the zip line. That equipment alone was more than $100,000.
When you're dealing with safety personnel like that,
Sure.
you know, there's really no money value.
Yeah.
Actresses, you know, big name actresses, you know, on high lines, of course, you'd always have the possibility of something going wrong.
The stars of the movie are Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett Smith, Regina Hall, and Tiffany Haddish. It took 2 nights from sunset to sunrise just to shoot this one scene. When were you most nervous?
The whole 2 nights.
Oh no, there wasn't one moment you remember the whole time, bless your heart.
No.
2 of the actresses had nervous bladders for the movie. It streamed right into an even funnier scene.
She has to really use the bathroom really so bad.
We've all been there.
So sure, absolutely, especially on Bourbon Street.
Especially on Bourbon Street, and
So,
the bathrooms are hard to find.
And her cohort behind her, Tiffany, which her character name is Dina, she says the bathroom lines are shorter on the other end, kind of a trick around going on. So Lisa decides Jada goes down and she gets stuck halfway, you know, in the middle. Then all of a sudden she lets it go. She can't hold it anymore, and she just pees on the crowd right below her.
I have to pee. Look, the line is short over there. There's a long line in the bathroom here. Just go for it.
It was all good and fun, and that's movie magic at its finest, you know?
And now I understand why perhaps they don't have zip lines in New Orleans.
Probably so.
Because there would be too many of us peed on
Yeah,
from those above. Lex has spent more than 3 decades in the stunt business. His interest in it started early.
When I was 7 years old, my father, he worked at a place called Martin Marietta in Orlando, Florida. So my brother and I, you know, growing up, you know, back then, it was like being a cowboy.
Instead, he went into the Air Force. But after that, stunting was an itch he just had to scratch.
I see this ad in the paper, you know, actors wanted, you know, gunfighters. So I decided to say, hey, you know what the heck, give me the chance. So I went down and I auditioned for this, you know, cowboy portion. And I ended up getting the lead role as, you know, Cactus Jack Slade.
I do it my way. Cactus Jack Slade.
I can outshoot, outfight, outdrink, and outlove any man alive, you know. Anyway, we did an old gunfight show. And then MGM Studios came in and knocked the doors down, and they built Indiana Jones. So my boss man said, you know, why don't you go to audition for it? So I went to audition for Indiana Jones. I was Dr. Jones, so you lady.
He was Indiana Jones for nearly 10 years. Then he decided to go bigger and start his own stunt company, working on movie sets around the world. He has more than 140 stunt credits to his name. Some of his recent movies are 12 Years a Slave, Zombieland, Green Lantern, and G.I. Joe 2. Lex blew into Baton Rouge during Hurricane Katrina and has called it home ever since.
What do you like about Baton Rouge?
Of course, the food, and, you know. But no, it's just the food and the people, you know, plus the LSU football, of course, you know. Even though I'm a Gator, you know, I will say that, you know. When they're not playing Florida, I'm an LSU fan, all the way.
Louisiana's pullback in movie credits has caused a slowdown in the blockbuster movie business here. But Lex has high hopes it'll come back around.
I think I'm just kind of like waiting on a storm, you know. So, but I feel strongly, you know, seeing it, I think it's going to come back.
Girls Trip will be released next month, July 21st, at theaters everywhere. And still to come. Baton Rouge born and 800 kids strong. How one woman's dream hit just the right note. Then Dr. Nick examines core beliefs and how we can change the unhealthy ones as Weekends with Whitney continues.
Look at this guy. You seeing this? Well, I'm the human dislike button, and I see it too.
Not on my watch, Hondo.
This guy's breaking like 5 rules. Don't be this guy. I'm the human dislike button, but one thing I do like is following the rules. To learn more about me, go to breck.org/HDB.
Welcome back to Weekends with Whitney. The biggest kids orchestra in the country is right here in our capital city. See how it's creating something bigger, bolder, and more powerful than music.
One, two, ready, play.
These instruments are nearly as big as the budding musicians playing them. What they're doing is big too, on every level. Kids Orchestra Executive Director Jody Onay.
We tap into that area of their brain that they don't always get.
It's the brainchild of businesswoman Nanette Nolan, but it's rooted in something more than music, more than education. It swelled from her desire to build a stronger community from the bottom up.
We purposely mix children because the idea here is that we meet the other people in our community, and so we make that happen with Kids Orchestra, and half the kids get on a bus to go to a different school than they are attending, and so you get to meet your neighbor. 800
K through 5th grade public, parochial, charter, and homeschool children come from 20 different schools to 11 teaching sites, all to learn about music and each other. Claiborne Elementary is one of those.
It has truly been a win-win situation for both the community as well as the school. We both benefit from this collaboration. Our students are learning skills such as perseverance, collaboration, as they learn to play instruments, problem solve, and those are lifelong skills.
Kids Orchestra expanded to Claiborne and several other sites just this fall after winning a generous $600,000 federal grant. It doubled the nonprofit's money, music to everyone's ear.
It not only afforded that we would be able to give the children more music, not just twice a week like our other programs, but 4 times a week. So we could do that, and we could offer the children academic enrichment in an area that needs it most.
In addition to almost a daily hour of music, these kids get an hour of tutoring too.
So I tutor them in math and ELA. I pull small groups because, you know, we want to ensure that these students are getting ahead. I help with homework, but we focus mainly on reading and the math skills.
Skills enhanced by music.
Believe it or not, I did a lesson with second graders in multiplication, and it kind of morphed into a fraction lesson, and they were able to understand it because they understood what a quarter note was, what a half note, what a whole note was. And so I was able to actually teach fractions to second graders.
Okay, here we go. You ready? 1, 2, ready, go.
No one skipped a beat when the historic flood hit just a week into the school year. Were you nervous after the flood?
I was just totally optimistic about it. We didn't think about the challenges. We only thought about how to get things rolling again and get everything back on track.
Even though 100 school buses were no longer rolling and students from flooded Howell Park Elementary relocated to Claiborne, they never lost their rhythm. And Kids Orchestra has never been bigger. It started 5 years ago with 50 kids. In its second year, it had 75. That's when Jody came on board. Her mission was clear.
My board said to me, go get the kids. So I said, okay, we'll go get the kids.
The next year, they had 500 kids.
So it wasn't hard to get the kids?
No, it wasn't hard to get the kids because we got the goods. We've got music.
Jody shares that love of music. She's an opera singer and former music teacher. But like in many schools, she felt the kids weren't getting enough.
One of those ladies pushing the cart around, and I had this big keyboard on top, and the wheel was broken. And, you know, like the kind that you take back in the grocery store because it doesn't work.
Right.
That was me, okay? And so I had this keyboard on top, and I was thinking, what am I doing? This is really hard. I'm teaching 500 kids, you know, music once a week, you know, and it was really defeating because the kids were getting so little music.
Even the little ones get an abundance in Kids Orchestra.
Ready, and sticky, bubble gum, bubble gum, bubble gum. Sticky, bubble gum, got stuck on your arm.
I get the kindergartners, yeah, I get the babies. Who you would think would be really, you think you would have to really like break everything down, but they're very smart.
Are they limited to what instruments they can play at that young age?
With me, they're getting the foundation of music.
Okay.
Okay, so we're playing like the xylophone. We're playing the percussion, non-pitched percussion instruments like the cymbals, the bells, the triangle. So they're really getting a foundation playing those types of instruments in hopes that they are really learning the skills that where they can move on to the violin and to the cello and the percussion instruments.
From there, in addition to their school orchestra, they can also be part of the Honors Orchestra, the Big Red Orchestra, or the new Kids Orchestra Choir.
This brings all of these kids from all over the city together. It doesn't matter where you live, you know, how much money you make, it doesn't matter. You're all together in the orchestra.
They're in harmony on a grand scale. When this younger generation connects, so do older generations in the audience. It breaks down barriers because we're all guilty of too often staying in our comfort zone.
How many people do you know from the other side of town? How many times have you gone and eaten lunch in a different part of town? How many times have you eaten lunch with someone that doesn't look like you?
Piercing questions perhaps we should all examine. Here, though, music's unique and unifying power mutes the noise of life.
It's like a language that we can all identify with or on some level understand, and so it just helps, cross all kinds of boundaries.
Today, about 2% of elementary kids in EBR Parish are part of the Kids Orchestra. But Jody wants to double that, and the school's offering it.
And that's our plan, is to try to get all the way across East Baton Rouge Parish so that Kids Orchestra is accessible to any child that wants to be in the program.
That'll take additional donations. But she knows she can get the kids.
Kids vote with their feet. So if you have something good, the kids are going to show up, and they do.
Children like Malaysia and Nadia, who are working on their first duet.
What have you learned about what it takes to pull off a duet?
You have to practice each a couple of times, and then you can start mixing it up together.
I played on the A string and she had played on the D string.
This opportunity gives them an extra layer of learning by, as I said, learning to persevere, learning to work well with others, to problem solve. They're learning music, they're learning art, and that spans across all disciplines.
You're very musical. It has been a passion of your life.
Yes.
But tell me what these children get out of it.
There's so much talk about STEM, and STEM is great. Science, technology, engineering, math. But what we're concentrating on is creating the whole child and helping create the well-rounded little educated child. And music is that extra piece. That's the piece that brings it all together. It's so important to start children at a very young and early age to help them to feel that creativity, to learn to be creative, and to open the door and give them the opportunity to be creative. And that's what we do. That's what we do at Kids Orchestra.
The Kids Orchestra has 2 terrific summer camps upcoming for kids K through 5. To register, you can go to kidsorchestra.org, but hurry, those spots are filling up fast. And still to come, Dr. Nick shows us how we can change our unhealthy core beliefs after this.
Maggio, the only way to go. Maggio Buick GMC, your satisfaction's our specialty. We really deliver on Falls River, here in New Roads. Small town atmosphere, legendary service for over 60 years. Maggio, the only way to go. The only way to go, that's Maggio.
9-time winner of the prestigious Buick GMC Mark of Excellence Award. What are your core beliefs? And where do they come from? How do we develop them? And what if you were to change some of them? Dr. Dick joins us this morning with more. I think of core beliefs and I think of things as like political standing. I believe in love. I don't even think I'm close to scratching the surface of what a core belief is. So what are they?
Well, they're, just to keep it easy, we call them ants, automatic negative thoughts.
Oh,
ants.
See, I'm so wrong.
No, you're right. I was just going to say we're going to talk about the negative thoughts, but we have to also keep in mind that we've been framed with positive messages too, and so that's what we want to lean on. But you know, Whitney, negative thoughts, I'm unlovable. If my child's room is a mess and the neighbor comes on, oh my God, I'm inadequate as a mother. You hear, it's an automatic kind of framework that we really have learned when we were much younger.
Oh, really?
Yes, they start early. And what I think is important about understanding negative thoughts is that when we go to delve into them to see what is at the root of this idea or feeling that I'm having of not lovable, it's not negative to parents. We're not putting parents down. It's what the child picks up, the temperament, the sensitivity. Let's say Sydney Joy comes home and has a habit of saying, they just don't like me. Okay. And your constant response is, out of love, you're wrong. There is a good chance that she's going to take the I'm wrong rather than trust what she's experiencing. You look like you got it.
Right. Instead of feeling like, oh yes, people do like me, she's just going to say, I'm wrong.
Well, she's listening to you. Because you, in your good heart, intent, that's not right, or you're wrong about that, or let's say a mother is a high extrovert and wants him outside playing all the time, and he comes home from school exhausted from social activities during the day, and doesn't want to go outside and play, wants to kind of cool down. What does he maybe do? Internalize that something's wrong with me. I'm not good with people.
Sure.
And so it's just fascinating to think of where these kind of messages can come from, and then we catch them, and hopefully we replace them. I don't think there's anything crazy about saying we have tapes, automatic tapes that just play.
Mine is my thighs are just never gonna look great. Okay. I'm never gonna have skinny thighs. I'm a muscular girl, and then all my life I look in the mirror and go, oh, really? They're still there.
Yeah,
like that. They've always been.
Well, and also haven't you put yourself down a little bit with height?
Oh.
Haven't you said that maybe you're not overly conscious, but you've said to me before, I wish I were taller. That's not necessarily a negative core belief, but the core belief could be, I'm not tall enough, which is that I'm not enough.
Oh,
Do you hear it?
I hear it.
It's so we catch it and say, okay, that's what you are. So what do you do with it? What do you choose to do with it?
Right. My weight is perfect for someone who's 5'7". I'm 5'4".
Okay.
That's where some of that height thing comes in. I'm like, oh yeah, if I could just grow a little bit more.
Okay.
But you're right. But we all have, body image or personality. That's where those core beliefs that are just ingrained over time.
Sure.
But how do we change that?
I've been thinking a lot about this lately because this is what I do a lot with people to try to change the thoughts. I think we have to, especially as we get older, we look at what our assumptions are about the world. Before we even get into negative messages, okay? Think about the assumptions.
Okay, not us, but the world.
Well, no, let's just think about you and me. What are our assumptions? Do I wake up with an assumption that all is well? That the world has order? That all mistakes lead to learning? That there's something bigger than me in this world? That we are all somehow connected? Do you hear the assumption?
Those all sound very healthy.
Exactly. And it seems to me that we have to go and look at our assumptions. Because if we have an assumption that the world is constantly unfair and is going to do me in.
Sure. Or think of this, the person who wakes up and says, well, what am I going to screw up today?
Perfect. But the assumption is that I'm going to always be making mistakes.
Yes. But let's pull that thread a little bit more. How do we change that? How do you wake up the person? What am I going to conquer today? How am I going to be great?
It is choice. I can choose. You can't choose to be 5'9", but you can certainly choose to use your height to your advantage and say, this is what I've got. I'm gonna work it. This is my hand I've been dealt.
Right.
This is what I've been given. I'm going to do. It's almost an assumption that says I'm literally going to choose what to think and how to work myself out of this.
But doesn't that take a lot of training, Nikki? Especially when you've done it the other way your whole life.
It does, Whitney. It's no different than if somebody's humped over for 30 years and I say, would you sit like this? And they say it's uncomfortable, and I'm like, yeah, but that's where you need to be.
Okay.
Okay? That's where you need to be. Yes, it's work. I will not, what would you rather? Pop pills every day or change the lifestyle?
Oh,
change the attitude. Believe that the human being and spirit has incredible power to turn things.
So should we keep almost like an affirmation list by the bed, that's what we think in the morning? Should we like be in a good book that helps us get on that path and spend 15 minutes every morning? I mean, because that's when that morning time, I think, is crucial.
Morning time is crucial, and evening time is crucial to journal.
Okay.
You know, throughout the day. This is what we call, pushing the self-care, the self-respect. But Whitney, it's also in the moment when it's possible, and it usually is. In the moment, we can stop and say, why am I feeling so unlovable? What just happened? And maybe what just happened was somebody called me and said, oh, canceling the gig. We're not going to have the gig this Friday. And instead of saying, fine, I've got my Friday free, I'll say what?
Oh, why didn't they?
Oh, what happened?
Right.
And so I go in,
Okay.
and say, hey, that's fine. Something else is going to come along Friday. I probably maybe didn't want to do it anyway.
So that's how you do it.
So you do it in the moment.
In the moment.
You're trying to be in the moment.
Okay.
When things happen that are unsettling.
I see.
And it is work. I will guarantee you that it's work.
But I love that you say it's doable.
Work. It's very doable.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Nick. More Weekends with Whitney after this. Atlas Foundation Repair, fixing your foundation problems for more than 30 years while preserving and protecting your trees. Thanks for sharing part of your time with us here on Weekends with Whitney. We hope to see you back here again next week. Until then, we leave you with this.
I don't want you to leave. Will you hold my hand? Oh, won't you stay?